stories. And I'll share my first intern story. I went to college in Boston and I got an internship unpaid at the New England Aquarium as a marketing intern. And I had to oversee the high school interns. And so we did all of like the activations where you went out into the community and told people about the aquarium, like gave out discount passes. But most importantly, somebody had to get dressed up in a seal costume anytime we went out into the community. So I had to encourage one of these poor high school students to do that. And it was a summer, so it was very hot. But yeah, it was really interesting. And Giselle, I worked for the New York Society for the Deaf at one point, which was also really interesting working for some of those uh, community organizations. So I just want to welcome everybody and happy intern day to everyone who has an internship, completed an internship. Um, Congratulations on securing the internship. I hope you gained tons of knowledge, were able to apply what you were doing in your classroom or in your field of study to the internship. But most importantly, I hope you made some really good connections with your coworkers, your colleagues, maybe some of your fellow interns that you might have met, and even the folks that were part of the internship team at the organizations that you worked for, whether they were mentors or your supervisors. I really hope that you took from this that you've built your network. So I've got some ground rules for the next hour and 15 minutes that we're going to be together. Um, so if you could please stay on mute when you're not speaking, we just want to make sure that we're creating an environment where we can hear each other and we can enjoy what everyone has to say. Your cameras are optional, but we do encourage it because that way we can get some really good interaction and feedback. And we want you to use the chat respectfully. We do have somebody moderating the chat. So if you have any words of encouragement or questions, or if you just want to continue to engage, just please use the chat feature for that. And then if you have questions for panelists, go ahead and type it in the chat. Like I said, we have somebody moderating, so we'll make sure that your question gets answered. And the session is going to be recorded. We love to record so that we could always share it back with folks that maybe registered and couldn't attend. We want to be able to share it with them as well. And then the last thing that we ask is that time is our most valuable asset. So because you're here, we want you to be present. We want you to be engaged. And this is how we find out who in our community is really intentional about supporting our early career starters and who wants to see you succeed. I say this all the time that for those of you that are still, trying to figure out what you want to do, there is a whole network of people that are behind you in your corner cheering you on. And when you have people that give up their time to do things like this is how you find out who they are. The people that are speaking today, and sometimes they're your peers as well. And so use this time to listen, be intentional, and just engage with everyone. So with that being said, I'm going to kick it off to our first panel, which is going to be moderated by John, and it will be our student panel, just sharing about their summer internship experience. So John, I'm going to kick it off to you, and I'm going to go on mute because I'm following the ground rules.
Thank you, Terry. Hello, everyone. My name is Jonathan Adele, and I'm one of the grant project managers here at Miami TechWorks. And my primary duty is to serve as a sort of work-based learning coordinator and opportunistic guide. So, what does that mean? My goal is really making sure that we can get these students into these projects and internships and opportunities directly with companies. And with that being said, I also have the esteemed honor today of serving as the moderator for our student internship panel. So, what I want to do is, I want to first, yes, we have our 6 students. I want to first take a brief minute to ask for the names, internships, and companies from each intern and why you decided to exactly delve into that internship. We can start off with Sweta.
Hi everyone, my name is Sueda Tare and I'm currently a student at Miami-Dade College. I'm interning at City of Coral Gables, where I'm working on a GIS RAG engine using city geodata to support the city AI assistant. I like this internship because it brings together my interest in GIS, AI, and civic technology. I'm excited by the idea of using AI to improve residents, how they access the city service and information.
Thank you, Sweta. Josiah, could you go next, please?
Hello, everyone. My name is Josiah. I'm at Miami-Dade College currently studying computer information systems with a concentration in enterprise cloud computing. Um, Currently, I do intern at One United Bank. So here at One United Bank, I do IT support. I kind of wear a lot of hats here, so which is good. That's why I like it. It gives me a good foundation to really learn and implement skills that will carry along later on. So that's something I love as well. Um, to be quite honest, it wasn't intentional. It kind of fell into my hand, which I'm very grateful for at the end of the day. So I really look forward to growing here with the company.
Pablo, you're up. Can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Paulo Valdez, and I'm a recent transfer to FIU from Miami-Dade College, majoring in computer science, and I'm interning at NVIDIA. So at NVIDIA, what I'm mainly doing is like more on the front end side of things. And one of the things I've been doing was implementing like a dev environment. So that's like kind of a pre-staging environment to like help developers like find errors and bugs faster, and that's kind of been having me run around like DevOps, the back end, just like there's so much debugging going on. And for me, I think like Josiah said, that this opportunity like fell in my hands, right? Because like as students, we like apply to a bunch of places and we just run with the one we like clicks the most with us. And so I think for me, like I've learned, so like there's so much stuff that I don't know when I went into this, and I've just been learning it like a ton, right? So it's been a great opportunity because of that.
Thank you, Pablo. Mark Anthony, could you tell us a bit about your internship and who you are?
I apologize. I couldn't find the unmute button. But hello everyone. My name is Mark Anthony Delva. I currently attend Florida National University, and I am majoring in computer science. I currently interned with ABC Fitness, which supports over 24,000 health and fitness clubs around the world. I was drawn really to this internship because I had a growing interest in backend development, and I wanted to gain some more hands-on experience in a real-world setting. So I felt like it was the perfect opportunity to build on the knowledge I've gained from both my classes and personal projects and apply it in a professional environment. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark Anthony. And Valerie.
Hi everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Valerie. I'm a rising senior at FIU. I double major in math and computer science. I was given the opportunity to intern this summer, which just finished at Miami Heat, working in their data analytics department. And the reason why I wanted to take on this internship is because I wanted to bridge the gap between what you learn in the classroom, seeing all of the theory behind data analytics, data science, and how it applies to the business world. So when this opportunity came up, I was super excited to see how I can apply all that knowledge to the industry and what are the differences.
Thank you, Valerie. And so, guys, projects. Everyone's talking about projects. And you guys know, as tech students, your projects are going to provide a very meaningful impact into what type of jobs you're going to land in the future. No one wants to no one wants to do an internship where they're running coffee all day, essentially. And so, can you tell us about your meaningful projects that you've performed within your companies? We'll start off again with Sweta, and then we'll go down the list like last time.
So as I mentioned before, the most meaningful project that I'm working and I'm so proud of is the GIS RAG engine, which we are building here for our AIDA 4.0. It's meaningful because I'm working here with real location-based data, which helps improve how people interact with the city digital assistant. And knowing my work has a real impact feels very rewarding.
Thank you. Could you tell us, for those who don't know, could you tell us a little bit about GIS?
So yeah, sure. We are getting GIS. We are working with the data from the. It's complicated actually. We are using an LLM, geodata, and a RAG, which we are putting it together to work as an AI agent.
Thank you. Decide?
So a project that I'm currently working on that I'm not really going to dive too much deep into is working on leveraging AI in the financial space for a better customer experience in a way that's like very new and I'm very eager to look forward to. But another project I could talk about that I've done and completed that I was, very proud of myself was it again? Um so basically, I had switches. I was tasked with managing our switches on premise and in LA by myself. So that was a good experience being able to work on premise and remote into different switches and get some good network foundations. That was really good. And I'm also proud of myself that I didn't really have to go and ask for help that much. I was able to problem solve and complete tasks on my own.
Oh, wow, you're very hands-on.
Sweet.
Pablo, you're up.
So one of the things, I think it was like two things I've actually been working on, but one of them I talked about previously was like this dev environment. So like when you're on a team, right, there's like multiple stages of development. So it's like you have staging, maybe after that you have canary, and then to production, right? So that's where like everyone else gets it. And so to get to staging, which is one of those environments, right, you need to get like approvals from other people. So like to push your changes there. So what I was doing was making like this dev environment, which is like a pre-staging. So it's kind of like the Wild West, right? Where you could just like push your changes there, see how it works, breaks, your code. And typically that wouldn't be that difficult on its own, but it's like with the environments, right? It's like it spans across like GitLab, CI, CD pipelines, which is like how the code like actually gets there to production and all those stages. And it's like across 14 different like apps, right? So that's what like makes it tricky because some of those apps are like really old. And besides that, I've just been working on like some other thing that's sort of like it's really more like for developer experience, right? And I'm not going to talk about it, but
Yeah, of
it's like
course.
something else related to it.
Thank you, Pablo. Mark Anthony?
So one of the projects that I worked on, which I'm really proud of actually, was contributing to phase 3 of a data quality pipeline that the team was working on over several months, which was called a self-healing pipeline because it's designed to automatically catch and fix discrepancies in Planet Fitness's financial data by comparing it to our source of truth. So for my part, for that project, I built a staging process that filtered and joined only the necessary data, which made the pipeline way more efficient and helped prevent timeouts during execution. Um, that was really important because it allowed the system to run a lot more reliable alongside other scheduled processes that the company has. And it helped also my contribution helped move the pipeline to QA, which is awesome because the team was waiting so long to get it to push it to QA. And also that really showed me how quickly I was able to learn and make a meaningful impact on this ongoing project. So, yeah.
Thank you. It's great to hear how, like you just said, you actually provided a meaningful impact in your internship. That's wonderful. Thank you. And Valerie, could we hear about a bit about you, please?
Yeah, of course. So the big project overall that my team and I were working on was to create a shopping recommendation system for their business because the current system they had was a popular. So the most popular item was recommended to people. However, they wanted to create a personalized recommendation system. So we had to build a machine learning model for that. And one thing I'm most proud of throughout this process was in the beginning phases when we were collecting all the data to be able to create this machine learning model, we stumbled upon a problem that the third party we were using to collect all this data, it could only export about 10,000 rows of data at a time. And we knew that the total amount of rows of data that we needed was 800,000. So we didn't want to just sit there for hours and hours exporting little chunks of data at a time. So we found an app and that connects to an API to be able to automate that process to collect all of that data. And not only that, we also realized that when we were exporting all this data, it did not have any date on it. So I had to write a Python script that would estimate more or less the date for each entry, which was crucial for us to be able to build our machine learning model. So that is a mini task I'm very proud of from my project, and I'm so grateful for everything I've learned to build my own machine learning model from scratch for the company. So
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Valerie. And it definitely was not many. It's really great hearing about how adaptive and hands-on you guys were in achieving that goal for your project. Okay, guys, we're gonna move on to the next question, which is people are always saying that there's a disconnect between what we're learning in the classroom and what we're actually doing in the field. Could you tell us a bit about how your classroom learning experiences helped guide you in your internship and whether there was a compliment or whether it differed? Sweater?
So, sure. That's kind of true because in the classroom, we always focus more on the theory and controlled exercise, but the internship usually gives you a more hands-on real experience. And working with in the internship, it takes the learning much further. To work with the real data, I think it's very important. Figuring things out as I go and collaborating with professionals. Of course, it's really important always to ask for feedback, to ask for help. And it's really amazing to show how everything you have learned in the classroom fits into the real world. I think that's the most important thing.
Thank you. And I'm just going to let the rest of you four just jump in. If you have any comments on this subject, then just feel free to just pop in.
I would say I'm more of an internship type of person over the classroom all day, every day. Being able to work and operate on the enterprise level is something a classroom would never ever teach you. So being able to get that experience so young and being able to be around a lot of different people, I'm able to intake a lot of stuff that I can incorporate and use to grow within my career and my goals. So I'm team internship all day. And then also like Sude said, my apologies if I mispronounced it. Classrooms are more theory. So me being able to get these hands-on experience, it makes going to school such an easy process because I already did it hands-on and I'm getting theory. I just go with the flow.
I think with work especially, it's like sometimes I'll encounter like problems, right? um or even like if I use AI, like, oh, how might I do this, right? I can't find the answer. So it's like I really have to like dig thoroughly and actually like dig deep. Whereas like in school, the problems that like I might get stuck in, right? There's like documentation out there for it, or it's been solved before, right? Whereas at work, sometimes that's not there, and I might ask someone like, oh, could you help me with this? And they might not know how to do it. It's like,
I would
Okay.
love to jump in on that. Just say, and Pablo actually have a good point. I feel like in school you don't really get to really see how really like systems get to work end to end and everything like that because all these companies how would you say systems are so complex. And then, mainly in school, it's a lot of theory. So I think with the internship, it puts you in that real environment to, apply these fundamental skills along with that theory as well. To just basically allowing you to connect the dots, between what you learned and actually applying it. Yeah.
Thank you. And so you guys have all had your internships, and I think some of you are still currently going through them. But let's say, what's one skill or experience that you take away from this opportunity that you'd like to share with us? And any of you are able to pop in. Just raise your hand and then jump in.
I was gonna say like collaboration, right? So it's like at school you might get like some collaboration projects, right? And you might work with like some person, but it's like for me at work, right? Sometimes I'll encounter problems where it's like I don't have like the permission to solve it, right? So like I might encounter some cloud related issue that I don't have access to because I'm just like someone on the front end, on the back end, right? And so I specifically have to find and like reach out to certain people to collaborate on solving things.
Just to piggyback off what Pablo said, besides the learning technical skills, I'll say problem solving is one of the biggest things you could learn from interning. Because, like you said, it's not high school, it's not your freshman year of college where you get a little bypass. This is real time. You got to really show up and perform. Another thing I learned as well is time management, being on time, going to meetings, taking notes and things of that nature. Really kind of shaping me to be the best employee in the technical space that I could be. Another thing I say I learned is I'll say professionalism. Being in a space where everyone is older than me, I just gotta, let go of that mindset I have and just, I'm with the big boys now, so let me just act like I belong here. So that's another thing I'm excited about that I'm learning here at the job.
Yeah, and real world tech problems are not always clear cut. You need to work on, try again, staying curious and committed to make all the difference. I think the persistence is very important.
Thank you.
Definitely. Oh, sorry.
No, go for it, Valerie.
Okay. Just quickly, I'll share one thing was that I did not expect to learn. I was more thinking technical aspects, collaboration, because those are typically things that show up. But for me, it was patience, because sometimes you need patience with yourself, that like you need time to go through a learning curve to be able to connect the dots between theory and application, or maybe the very specific business problems that your company needs that are not the general ones you find online describing connecting the dots between theory and industry. And also patience when, for example, waiting to get data from a third party. It's like things that are outside of your control. So learning how to be patient with that. So that was definitely something I learned throughout this time.
Thank you, Valerie. I have a quick question actually, and anyone can just jump in. What was in your resume? What do you believe was in your resume in terms of a project that made your employer that decided to bring you on say, you know what, we want them? Go for it, Mark.
So when I was speaking during the interview, a project that really made my employer really, decide to choose me was I wanted to learn more about full stack web development, and the type of person I am, project-based learning is the only way to go. You can put a book in front of me, it's not gonna work. I have to, do it myself. So, with that project, I ended up basically going through the full process of full stack web development, and what really impressed my recruiter at the time was the fact that I was working with a database managing over 50,000 records. And since, that's the same thing that I'd be working with in the internship, he really found that really cool. And even though at the time I wasn't so used to writing SQL queries like raw, he still understood that I have the fundamentals. I understand what's going on in the table. I understand the relationships and everything like that, and that really shows to them choosing me. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's hear from one more person.
I'll go. My story is a little bit different. So, little background, I was actually working here at the job as a high school intern doing office management, printing papers, nothing too crazy, not really learning, grabbing coffees, like you said, internships like that. So coming towards graduation, I did kind of decide I want to pivot into tech. So me sneaking away from downstairs, coming upstairs to see what these guys was doing and asking questions and showing my eagerness to learn. That kind of influenced them to say, okay, he actually wants to learn this. So towards graduation, it came to the point where even though I was a high school intern, most of my days was upstairs doing basically being their guinea pig, and I didn't really mind because it was like I didn't do no projects outside of that, like Mark said, or anything like that. So I just showed up and showed out. That's about it.
Thank you. It's really good hearing about how hard work does have a determining factor on whether or not you're going to take that next step. And so I have one last question for the panel, and it's going to be a very defining question, especially for all of the students that we have in the call. What piece of advice can you give students? Because we have a lot of students who haven't necessarily been in the internship yet. What piece of advice can you give to students starting out their first internship opportunity? We're going to start with Sweta.
So my advice would be always to speak up and ask questions. It's important that they know that you don't have to know everything, but being engaged and showing every day that you are willing to learn. And as I say, go with I think that's the most important thing.
Decide.
I'll say understand that you was hired for a reason. You're not coming in expected to be the next senior level, world-breaking enterprise person. Understand they're hiring you because you're showing you're eager to learn and you just want to continue bringing that every day and just showing up. Something that I struggle with that I'll give people advice with is imposter syndrome. It have been times I'd felt like I didn't belong, or it'll be meetings going on, it'll be talking about too much technical stuff, and my brain will just be like, so being able to, use that instead of fear as drive to really learn and show up every day and get my tasks done and complete stuff, that would say I'll get advice to someone. Use that as your drive to do better. Don't fear it or shy you away from the job that you were hired to participate in or come and work on.
Thank you. Pablo?
Yeah, so I think one of the main things, right, and school does prepare you for this, is learning, right? So if you could like rapidly learn like this and it's enjoyable for you, then you're gonna be chilling that whole interview. You're gonna actually love it because there's gonna be so much stuff you don't know that they do in those large applications, right? And you're gonna want to like dig into everything. So you're gonna have a great time, and people are gonna see that also, and you'll you'll be great.
Thank you, Pablo. Mark Anthony?
One piece of advice I would give is just don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're there to learn, and the companies know that, And what really matters, like the other interns just said, was, it's showing a willingness to grow and take feedback and keep on improving. Not all criticism you will receive is bad. Sometimes it's exactly what you need to develop into a stronger intern. And I believe that mindset will earn you support and respect. And also, lastly, just to take time to connect with people. If you have a break between tasks, set up a quick coffee chat with people in the company. Even a 10-minute conversation can teach you something valuable. And that's really the best advice I can give to anyone.
And Valerie?
Definitely. You gave me a hard follow-up. You guys gave such great advice. Definitely. I will say something somebody told me before going into my internship was whatever you don't know, you can learn. So don't freak out. We're all learning. Even their top senior person at your internship is also learning, believe it or not. So it's an environment where we're all learning and we're all teaching each other. And they were also interns. They were also students like us, and they had to go up to the top, and they have you there because they want you to see you grow and take full advantage of their mentorship.
Thank you, Valerie.
I'm sorry, can I say
So,
one more thing to just top up what Valerie say? And just so everyone knows, like at the end of the day, we're working in technology. What was the best practices 5 years ago would never be today's best practices. So, like she said, at a senior level, we're all learning, we're all growing. So just understand that and never feel like you don't know because, like she said, the senior staff might not know as well.
thank you, Desai. Well, guys, my name is Jonathan Adele, and that was our student spotlight panel. Feel free to interact and connect with our students on LinkedIn or in the chat. however you may see fit. And I'm going to kick things off to Terry for our next session.
Hi, thank you guys so much for sharing your stories and your perspectives. John, thank you for moderating. Please drop your LinkedIns in the chat. There might be folks that want to reach out to you and connect with you, whether they're your fellow students or even employers that are on the call. So please go ahead and drop your LinkedIn. So next up, we have our employer panel. And this is an opportunity to hear from employers how they view internships and the opportunity to encourage early career talent to grow and experience what it's like to gain those real world experiences. So happy to bring to the screen Jesse Klein, Salinas Legusamon, and D'Angelo Senat from AllPeep. And just really quickly, if we can just have you guys go down the line, I'm going to go based off of who I see and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about where you're from. So Jesse, you're first on my screen.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me. I am an early careers recruiter here at UKG. I've been here for almost 6 years. So I'm based in Sunrise, Florida. We just opened a brand new office. So this is like my first or second week at this desk, but hire a lot of interns, a lot in the software engineering space, a lot in the go-to-market, marketing, sales space, and then we hire a lot of recent grads as well. So a lot of you have seen me on campus or doing events like this, and just really excited to be here.
Awesome. Salinas?
Hi, Salinas Leguizamon. I'm a principal account executive at Amazon Web Services based here in Miami, Florida, focused in the travel and hospitality industry. We're actually opening an office in Wynwood very soon, which we're very excited about. And for internships, we hire students, globally for both technical and business teams. And for us, internships are super important part of, the organization, and we're going to dive deeper into those details. So thank you so much for having me.
And D'Angelo.
Hello, everyone. I'm D'Angelo Sennett. I'm a South Florida native. I was an undergrad 6 years ago, so transitioning from an intern to an engineering consultant, and now a tech founder of a startup. So we're basically an online community platform designed to help community-led organizations to take control over how they engage online. So instead of using traditional social media or other platforms, we give organizations their own to independently engage with their community how they want to. Our team spans across the US, Africa, and Europe, and we've been having the pleasure to partnering with Miami Tech Works and Miami-Dade College and working with the interns over a various set of programs. And it's been so much value, especially with starting a company from scratch and being able to delegate and also pour in because 6 years ago, I was also an intern. So it's a full.
Okay, yeah, you froze just a little bit. So Jesse, I'm going to kick it back off to you to start. Can you just talk a little bit about why does UKG prioritize early career talent and interns, and just share how many interns did you have this past summer?
So we had probably 250 interns in North America this past summer. We have another group globally in some other offices as well. But we really prioritize early career talent and interns because you all bring exactly what the previous panel said, perspective and experience and an eagerness to learn. And it's really special for us to be able to hire a whole class of folks and bring in 100 different perspectives at one time, 100 different individuals who have done different projects, different previous internships, and can raise their hand and say, hey, maybe that was a best practice 5 years ago, but that's not how I would do it, and here's why, and really create those innovative conversations. We host a lot of like internal hackathons and things like that, and our interns win almost every single prize. They bring the best and brightest ideas, and then we turn around and put those ideas into our product. So we've been extremely successful at, mentorship and experience and all that kind of stuff as well, but really creating this collaborative space.
That's awesome. And I see Jessie everywhere, not only like at FIU. I mean, she's everywhere with early career talent. Selena, so you can answer that same question, but can you also just talk about the level of engagement that AWS has as a organization in making sure that students have access to the technology and the cloud computing software, so that they can prepare for internships? That would be great also.
Yes. So definitely, as you know, Terry, we work closely with universities, providing support around cloud computing technology to make sure that the curriculums that are being done in Creative for students provide the right kind of skills that are needed in the real life, in the real job market. But for us, internships are super important because it's a way for developing our innovation engine and talent pipeline, right? One fun fact is that our CEO, Matt Garment, was an intern at Amazon. So definitely, you know, a lot of our top leaders were interns before, so it's taken very serious and it's an important part of what makes Amazon and AWS so great. But also interns bring a fresh perspective, like Jesse mentioned, you know, and also, you know, an opportunity to develop the future leaders of the world, and giving also students opportunity to have real world examples of, you know, problems the customers are having and how they can innovate using technology.
That's awesome. And D'Angelo, I know you mentioned that we've been partnering on a few initiatives. So you can just give us a brief overview of how have interns been able to help your startup grow over the last, let's say 5 weeks or so, month or so. I know that you're involved in a couple of internship projects.
Absolutely. It's been allowing us to bring fresh perspectives. Aside myself, we have two other executives with like 30 plus years of experience. So bringing more fresh ideas and without like the bias of working for a while and having a like a structured view already on technology with their past experience. These interns has been able to allow us to see things from different perspectives and stay in permanent beta. And like the reason why being in permanent beta is so important, especially for a startup, is because there's a lot of reiterations and you have to pivot from time to time, but it keeps you open to innovate and like look at the areas where you need to stay fresh and consistent. So we really allow the interns who we brought on pick the projects that most align with the experience that they're looking to get, and that led to a lot more curiosities, questions asked, while also being hands-on with them to provide them the help that they need. And it's been extremely valuable because we've been able to ship out the projects that they're working on to our clients because time is limited and our resources typically limited. So like being able to see their project being used by our customers also allow us to reiterate if need be and getting instant feedback. But
That's
yeah.
awesome. So I'm going to tie in something that the previous panel said about like managing expectations, not only for themselves, but also for you all as employers, right? So maybe sometimes students are going to come in thinking that they've got to know everything, think that they've got to have everything all ready to go as an intern. But just talk about from the employer perspective, what are your expectations? And when it comes to mentorship, what does that look like on your end for an intern? So Jesse, I'm going to start with you again.
Sure. So we do our best to kind of create a hiring process and an interview process that reflects this. And, you know, as a recruiter, anytime a manager says, "Hey, I had a great intern," of course, I'm right there like, well, what was great about them, right? How do we find more great interns? And every time the feedback is that this person was easy to work with, that they were eager to learn, that they were collaborative, right? And I keep using those same kind of soft skills, but we're really looking for folks who are who we can get lost with, right? So I think there's this perception that you need to know where you're going, that you need to have the directions or the map or the solution, and really we might not know yet, right? And certainly when COVID happened, we didn't know. We were all lost together, and what made us successful was that everyone was coming together and saying, okay, how do we figure out where we're at, right? And so we're really looking for interns who ask questions in a way where it's going to help us recognize what's going on. So for example, if you were lost, right, you would want someone in the car who says, hey, I think we've seen that tree before. Why don't we start putting some sticky notes and so we can chart our path, and then when we come back around, we'll know where we've been, right? So we're really looking for folks who can participate in the conversation and be really clear, what do you know and what don't you know? And we want to fill the room with folks who all know different things, right? So we all have to be able to just participate, and that's really what's going to make us the most successful, innovative, pushing innovation and all of that. So absolutely not really looking to hire anyone who knows everything or who has all of the answers or maybe any answers, but can come together and like create the answers.
I love that we're not, you don't want to fill the room with everybody that knows, everything. And then you also don't want to fill the room with everybody that thinks the same way, especially when you're building a technology company, because technology has to be inclusive and used by everyone. So I love that thought. So Salinas, to you, the question of, managing just the expectations of the interns and the mentorship that could be provided for them along the way.
Yes. So definitely for students, I will echo what Jesse was saying, people that are easy to work with, that are flexible. It's super important to have critical thinking skills to be able to be problem solvers, come with a fresh perspective. So definitely, we're looking for those soft skills, being open-minded. One of the things that I remember when I was an intern and when I first started with my previous company in IBM was there was a lot of things I didn't know, and I was working with a very senior team. I found little opportunities that I could add value, even if it was just to take notes, right? Because I knew that taking notes is going to make me remember what everybody's talking, kind of learn an opportunity to engage with other team members. So really find opportunities to add value whenever possible. And obviously we wrap around the student with, weekly check-ins with their managers, a buddy system. We love that part. Actually, when I joined also, I had a buddy for onboarding, and I'm still very close friend with that person, because you're kind of like working through together and kind of navigating the company together. So we really wrap them around with different levels of people, dedicated mentors, managers, and different teams for them to be exposed, and have a very, very well-rounded experience.
That's awesome. And D'Angelo, for you?
Yeah. So for us, I'm sorry if I'm lagging. Am I still lagging? Can you guys hear me?
Just a little bit, but your audio is fine.
Okay. So we look at it from a merit over perspective. We communicate to our interns that they are here because they earned the spot, not because of who they know. So when it comes to the onboarding process, we had to start from scratch. So typically what we do is have a tailored presentation where it lays out the company's mission, vision, what we've done to this point, the product, and their projects. And we'll send it over to them about a month before they start, or a couple weeks, depending on timeline. And then from there, we'll do weekly check-ins and empower them. Instead of like leading by exploitation, I've worked with company in the past where executives are forcefully leading rather than providing the clear set of instructions and what the expectation is, and then allowing the interns or the employee to go ahead and try their best. And the biggest thing as far as expectations is the effort, right? So like as long as the interns are putting in the effort, then we can ask the mentors or like the managers that they're reporting to, we can show them rope on how we're doing things. But since we're a startup, we're still figuring things out as well. We make it clear that it's a level playing field. This is what worked, but let's continue to reiterate and innovate. And when we hit the wall or hit an obstacle, that doesn't mean just stop. That means that we take it back to the drawing board and we just ideate until we get it right.
So D'Angelo, I want to follow up with something, because
Okay.
you're in a unique position on the call in that you are a startup. And so the onboarding process might look a little bit differently in terms of how you get resumes, how you do the interview. So the touch points and one-on-one might look different than how students are traditionally told on submit your resume, wait for somebody to get back to you, et cetera. So I think the question for the group, and we can start with you, D'Angelo, is how can students prepare and demonstrate their technical expertise in different type of interview formats, and what that might look like at your company? And then we'll ask Jesse and Salinas the same.
Yeah, so for us, it's being able to walk us through uh, a project, or if they have the experience coming into the interview, being able to walk us through that And what we're assessing is the mindset and their process and how they're communicating that. Because from there, that allows us to really see inside, like how they think and if it's a fit based on our culture. And seeing the hands-on experience from that really helps us really understand. But also like knowing that since it's more so a bit more chaotic in the startup environment, frustration is real. But it's important that we use it as fuel to keep our eyes on impact, whether it's the employers or interns, to make sure that we can continue to be productive and eventually making results.
I want to drill down on that a little bit more. So if
Yep.
a student were looking for an internship today in a company like yours that's doing things heavily in AI, what
Yeah.
would you say are the top 5 things that you would want to see on a resume, whether it's a certification or a class that they took?
Yeah, what I would like to see is what AI tools that they've utilized and understand like the thought process of selecting that tools versus the others. Especially with AI, there's a lot of competitive products that are similar coming out, like what led to that. And just being able to talk through that, and if possible, if we can walk through some examples, or we'll throw scenarios out like, hey, we're currently building out this project and we're considering utilizing these AI tools. What do you think about that? And assessing what their thought process is and how they can collaborate in real time during the interview.
That's awesome. So Selena, similar question. Interns, when they're working with their career services team, or maybe when they're just looking for a job, the hiring process is typically very hands-off if they haven't met a recruiter, so they're just submitting their application online. But what do you think it would take for them to get an internship with AWS?
And I know that it's challenging for students because obviously they don't have, the experience and they're looking to how they can update their resume. One of the things that we always tell students is to leverage those extracurricular activities, projects, hackathons, all those things that, especially here in Miami, that you guys are doing so greatly to expose students and give them real world examples of how you did it, your critical thinking skills, how you got hands-on experience with them, how you implemented the solution, being able to quantify the outcome from it. So really kind of seeing how your thought process, how you think, and also how you're leveraging the resources that you have available in the university. And don't be shy about including those things in your resume, saying, okay, I worked on this project or this competition. This was the outcome, and really being able to quantify and show the value. I think it goes a long way.
And Jesse?
Honestly, exact same, right? I think we heard from the previous panel things that everyone's getting out of their current internship, and they were things like, well, really having to go out and find who can help me with this particular problem, or having to build some patience, right? Some of us are still working on that, but build patience because we're doing things with third party or because we can't control certain aspects of the process. So any opportunity to put yourself in a situation like that prior to your internship is really what's going to help you stand out. There are a ton of resources available to you, right? This is one of them. So I think everyone on this call is already one step ahead in finding those opportunities, but that's exactly what we look for, right? If you've been in a situation where you've been trying to solve a problem and you have to reach out to someone and you have to build that professional communication, you have to really articulate the problem you're solving and why you need their help. When you show up to a really large company like UKG, we're going to think that you're going to have an easier time doing that. And you're certainly going to have to do that. You're working directly on our product. A lot of our interns interact directly with our customers. And so that will feel a lot more familiar to you if you've been in that situation before.
Okay. Last question, just your final thoughts. What would you say to an employer that maybe has hesitated around starting an internship program or engaging with interns? What would you say to tell them to stop hesitating and jump in? Jesse, we'll start with you.
Yeah, that's a big question. I mean, the reward greatly outweighs any effort that you're going to put in, right? I think is the easiest, simplest way to put it. But our program re-energizes us at every turn. It creates our office to be a much more lively and enjoyable place for everyone who works here. It improves our customer service and our actual product and the technologies that we use. So at every aspect of our company, our internship program is the foundation of our success, genuinely. So any opportunity to do that is going to be well worth the time you're putting into mentorship and to kind of figuring it out.
Thank you. Salinas?
Yeah, definitely echo everything Jesse said. And also I feel like internships, like we talked about before, is a great opportunity to develop a talent pipeline. Many of the interns, if they do a phenomenal job, they will get an offer. So, it's great for the student and it's great for the employer because they're already exposed to the talent and they really get to groom them from the very beginning and kind of immerse them in the culture of the company, really learn if they have the skills and the EQ to be successful in the company. Also, as Jesse mentioned, the fresh perspective, innovation, we get fresh students that are learning the greatest and latest technology around Gen AI innovations, which is super important. Increasing diversity, definitely we want to make sure that we continue to having more women in technology and diverse talent. So it really exposes you to, at a very young age, to this young talent. Yeah, and it's a low trial risk period to be able to see, okay, is this employer, is this student going to work out for us for the company? So in general, definitely, I think it's a win-win for the company and for students.
Yeah, for me, I would say worst case scenario is that it's an asset. Like most startups are building for the future. So no matter what stage the company is in, if they plan to be existent in the future, they have to invest in the future. So for us, having a internship program allowed us to accelerate and get things pushed out so that we can get out into the market faster and get feedback instantly. So I would just ask those employers that question, like, do you see yourself being existent in the future? So why not invest in it now?
Awesome. So I want to thank you guys for taking the time to be here. It's like I said, time is your most valuable asset, and I appreciate you sharing these words of wisdom, not only for our students, but also for our employers. If you guys are not connected with Jesse, Salinas, and D'Angelo, please follow them on LinkedIn. Our next part of the program is the student demos. We have some students that have worked on some really amazing projects. And so I'm going to turn it over to, and I apologize if I do not pronounce your name, but Aitana. Is that correct?
That's
Aitana,
correct.
the floor is yours.
Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name's Aitana Garcia, and this summer I have been working as a marketing intern at eMed. A little bit about me is that I'm a rising sophomore at the University of Florida, and I'm majoring in marketing and minoring in innovation. And I'm super excited to be sharing a little bit about my experience and what I worked on and what I've taken away from these past 8 weeks that have like flown by so fast. So an overview of my internship is that I started interning here mid-July through early August. It's almost my last week. And I've been working specifically with the marketing team. And one of the biggest focuses that I was helping during the summer was the support of the shift from more business focused approach to something that's more direct to consumer. So what that meant was thinking about how we could connect with everyday people, especially through digital content and branding. I also worked on content from one of the company's wellness brands, which is planning to expand here in the US. And it really took a lot of time with the team to decide how we're going to execute this, since it's an evolving brand and we're preparing for a new audience. And a lot of what I did tied into the creative direction, social strategy, and just honestly, like really thinking about how brands show up visually and emotionally online. And through this internship, one of the coolest parts was how hands-on it was. I used a lot of Canva and building mock-ups, designing social content, and even helping create assets for internal use. I also learned how to work a lot with Excel, especially for things like version control logs, which, I did not know how to use Excel before this internship, but, I learned. And it's something that I didn't know, but it was really important when working in collaborative creative processes. And I also got really familiar with other platforms like Pexels and Vonto and Death to Stock, which are great tools for curating content that fits like a specific brand mood or tone. And I was super surprised with how much detail goes into picking the right image for the right message. It really takes a lot of research, and that is something that I found very insightful throughout this internship. And honestly, one of the biggest things I learned was how to communicate in a professional environment, whether it was asking for feedback or updating the team or even like explaining a design choice. It really pushed me out of my comfort zone to be very clear and confident and very collaborative. And this internship taught me a lot about the difference between classroom marketing and real world marketing. In school, you learn about just like the frameworks and the theory, but in real life, there's a lot of constant testing and fixing and adapting. So not everything is going to be perfect in the first try. And something that stood out to me was how much of a social strategy is tied to the emotion and tone, because you're not just pushing content, you're trying to connect with people to make sure that you understand what your audience feels, wants, or needs. And one of the things that I did was something that was called a social listening, which is basically like doom scrolling through Reddit and Instagram of the brand. And that really is like the part of the research. And it really helps you understand how the brand is going to be executed. And I also learned the power of visual and brand consistency. It's very important that the colors, the words, and every photo that you put out, it all belongs to the same story, to the same brand. And most of all, I saw how marketing is also a cycle. Like you try something, you get feedback, you refine it, and then you keep going. It's very creative and strategic at the same time, which I found super interesting and super insightful. And one of the big projects that I was working on, well, I worked on several projects. They were all super fun, but one was curating a visual library for the wellness brand. Basically, it's like organizing images that match the brand's personality, and it could be used across all the different types of platforms. And I didn't realize how like satisfying and achieving it would be to find like the perfect pictures that could fit the vibe of the brand. And I've also been helping with writing newsletters, which gave me a lot of practice in writing stuff that's clear, friendly, and professional. And there's so much more to newsletters than you can imagine. Like in the beginning, I also thought it was just like an email, but there's so much thought, research behind how like you present the info in a way that people actually want to read it. I also worked on organic versus paid social planning too. It helped me understand the difference in the purpose of organic content, in which it is about community and the brand feel, while paid ad content is about the performance and targeting. And one of my favorite things was designing mock paid ads for wellness and for wellness related themes. And they weren't public facing, but it was a very creative challenge for me to build ad content that felt empowering, educational, and overall just visually clean. And it gave me a taste of what it's like to pitch real ideas that could potentially turn into like real campaigns someday that we would be able to give out into the audience. And that's a little overview of what I did throughout my internship. So I really want to say that I'm super grateful and I've really got an amazing team to work with. And every day I was taught something new, and I feel like I'm really walking away with like a better understanding of not just what marketing is, but the collaboration and the feedback, and to really just trust my creative instincts when it comes to marketing. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It sounds like that was a well thought out, very like intentional internship for you to learn. So um, I'm happy for you and really curious in the chat. I would love to have more interns. Just take a look at that question. Were there any thoughts about maybe adding on new classes based off of the internship that you experienced, or maybe even pivoting and doing something different? I'm just curious. In the meantime, I'm happy to introduce Ken and Nerdis, our superstar team, HR team from eMed. they're going to have a fireside chat with their interns just about the experience of interning at eMed. So Ken and Nerdis, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you, Terry Ann. We are very grateful to be here, and having listened to the employer panel, to the intern panel, and certainly to Aitana, we are so grateful to have the opportunity to engage with our interns. We as a small and mid-sized organization here headquartered in Miami are thrilled to have a history of having several interns each year across multiple departments. But the experience, I'm thankful to say, thanks in large part to Nordis's engagement over the past several years, has been one that has been shaped and then changed over the years to bring about as much value to the interns. Some of what Aitana just shared is a large part of that. So if we can maybe jump in to that, I'd love to ask certainly Aitana, but also Lindsay, when you thought about what an internship was going to be versus what it turned out to be here at eMed, what surprised you the most about the intern-employer relationship this summer?
I think what really surprised me the most was how accessible and supportive everyone has been throughout this internship. I kind of like expected something that was like more formal or like kind of more distant, but I found it to be like the complete opposite. Everyone on the team, whether marketing or really just and like all over eMed, they have been so open to questions, feedback, and letting me like pitch ideas. So that like built like a trust between us, and that really made like a huge difference. And it made me feel like the work that I've been doing here in the internship has mattered a lot.
Great. What about you, Lindsay?
For me, I was really surprised with how much trust that we were given as interns pretty early on to like come up with our own projects, and to really like take on projects where we weren't getting that much like management, which was good because we got to learn how to solve problems on our own, which I think is where I know I have grown the most.
That's great. I think one of the things, and I think back to my early internships even, that we hear about, and we've heard this today as well, that it is about meaningful work and extending the trust, just as you said. Interns are no longer there to bring coffee, do copies, but rather to contribute. And that's the way that both sides get benefits from that. So there's certainly the work in the functional area, but can both of you maybe also share what were some of the things that were in addition to, let's say, the marketing work or the work in the legal department that you took away that benefited you as part of the internship? I know there are, for example, some subject matter expert sessions or training sessions. Can you talk about those a little bit and how that might have contributed to an even more meaningful internship this summer?
I think that Norda setting up the subject matter presentations was so valuable. I've never worked in a company like this. I didn't even know that some of those roles existed. And being able to see the way that all of those different sides of the business interact with our departments was just really, really interesting and super informative.
Yeah, I also agree. Every single team internship meeting that we have has been super impactful. And again, like I also didn't know most of this stuff. And it's something that I'm gonna take home and move forward with and implement into my possible next internship as well.
I love that. If I want to actually hand over to Nordis on that point as well, because when we started building out our internship program here at eMed, we were looking to companies like UKG, AWS, and trying to tap into what do some of the best companies who are offering internships, what do they do? And what can we replicate, but as a small and mid-sized employer, recognizing we may not have the funds and the budget that some of those organizations do to do everything. But with a well-structured program, there's a lot of meaning that can be brought. So for the employers on the call as well, this next question really goes to Nordis. What are some of those things, and how can employers best introduce those with, yes, some effort, but nevertheless, not an overburdening of an employee or the organization necessarily, but still giving that meaning?
Absolutely. So the way we do it is we have weekly check-ins. So I meet with our team and I block half an hour, but honestly, we're there 5-10 minutes making sure what's working well, what's not. I have a dedicated form for it, so we have some metrics as well. We also have the subject matter experts. We had IT, we've had product, we've had customer experience, and many more. They all share. And by the way, your leaders want to talk to the interns because they like to share their story, the meaning, and how they really make a positive impact in your company. We also have power skills. So those soft skills, we call them power skills, which whether it's achieving flow state, time management, and all of those different aspects that we do on a weekly basis. And it doesn't take a lot of time, it just takes structure. So if anyone's ever interested to develop an internship in your program, I will literally hand you the keys and we can talk it out and work together, because internships are so important. And I was even meeting with Lindsay today during our one-on-one. I said, thank you for helping our team so much, because our legal department is swamped with the growth we're experiencing, which is great. And Aitana has made such a valuable impact. And of course, it's heartwarming. So get interns and do it often.
If you think about key takeaways for yourselves, I know, Aitana, you shared a few in your presentation, but Lindsay, what would you say to other interns who are considering internships, whether yes to do one or not is at the basis, but then for employers to make it more valuable, what would you say to them as a tip, a takeaway first for the interns, and then in terms of employer advice?
Okay, first for the interns, I think that the student panel earlier covered a lot of good things on this, but just to get involved as much as you can. And if you don't have work to do, to ask, like take on more projects, ask for feedback, and just like see different ways that you can help and bring that like positive attitude, that team like spirit. And then for employers, I think just like continuing to foster like a culture at your company where like they're excited to have interns and like hire people who are excited about developing young people, because I think that has been with my team. My boss, Darlene, she's so excited about helping me. And that's just made the experience so much better.
I know we're strapped a little bit for time, so I want to give one last question, and this one could be challenging just in the way it's going to be phrased. If you could describe your summer internship experience in one word and then explain why, what would that one word be?
I would say it's been very eye-opening. This internship gave me a deeper understanding of marketing and what it looks like in the real world beyond just like the textbooks. And I saw how like the strategy and creativity and overall the collaboration, and how it all just comes together to put something out for everyone to be able to see. So it made me realize how much more there is to learn, but also that I really actually do want to keep learning it.
Fantastic. How about you, Lindsay?
I would say exciting. It's gotten me really excited about my career with school, law school, sometimes I'm like, what am I doing? But this has just reminded me that there is like a lot of fun to be had in the legal world, and there are jobs in the legal space where every day can be something new and something exciting. So I'm looking forward to the future.
Brilliant. Well, thank you both very much. Nordis, thank you for everything you do to make this internship work so well. With that, we would love to hand back to Terry Ann, and thank you to Miami Tech Works for all that you do also for making these internships even available and helping our community grow accordingly.
No, thank you guys, Ken and Nerdist. You really are becoming just a great resource to help guide the internship process. So thank you all for attending today. I hope you've taken away some good insight into the internship process. We're gearing up for fall internship applications. And if you're following any of, some of the LinkedIn posts, if you're in our Miami Tech Works group on LinkedIn, you know that we're constantly posting opportunities as we see them. And some employers are already posting for 2026 summer internships. So if you're not thinking about getting ready for them, you probably should start checking in with your career services folks on making sure your LinkedIn is up to date, your resume is up to date, and just building your network and your capabilities. I'm going to post some resources in the chat on how you could build up some of those stackable work-based learning and projects that are completely accessible and free. Every college, community college, university student has access to something called Forage, Forage. Those are simulated work-based learning opportunities that are actually provided by businesses. Then we also partner with Extern, where Extern will post challenges that you can work on. You can sometimes get a stipend as well that you can get paid for. And then the other that I want to bring your attention to is a group called Catch a Fire. Catch a Fire works with nonprofits that just need to get projects done. And so they look for volunteers to get those projects done. So as somebody that wants to build their portfolio, you can sign up to be a Catch a Fire volunteer, work with a nonprofit, get a project done. But these are all great resume building activities and also great exploration activities. Maybe you're in data, but you want to see what it would be like to work on a marketing project. And one thing I heard a lot was that collaboration and communication tool. So working on projects like Catch a Fire and Extern will give you that capability. And John is also posting another great challenge that we did actually with D'Angelo with AllPeep and a few others. We are also host an employer provided innovation challenge called EPIC. It's funded through the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation. Once somebody completes the challenge, they do get a stipend as well. So keep an eye out for the next round of EPIC challenges. And we're just going to continue to partner with folks that will give you all that hands-on work-based learning opportunity so that you are ready for that internship application. And then we have a few upcoming events that we're going to be excited to share once we confirm the date. But we're also planning opportunities for you all to be aware of GovTech and internship opportunities in cybersecurity and government. So please follow along with Miami Tech Works, because we want to reduce the barrier for awareness so you know of all of these opportunities. So just want to, and anytime that we call you guys to appear at our coalition, it's a great opportunity for you to network also. So I thank you all so much for sharing your journey, and just continue to be in touch and let us know how we can support you on your career pathway, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.
If we can get everybody for a picture, Terry Ann.
Yes, we need everybody for a picture. Don't go yet.
Everybody
Please
on camera.
Yes, everybody on camera, and we'll take a picture.
Okay, is everybody on? Everybody ready? I need
Everybody
to know.
looks gorgeous.
Okay, everybody ready? 1, 2, 3. Got it.
Thank you all so much. Great panels. Students, keep in touch. Let us know how we can help you.
Have a great one, guys.